the foundation of financial transformation before we talk about saving, budgeting, investing, businesses, assets, or wealth. We must first discuss something much more important: your mindset. Many people believe money problems begin in the wallet, but that is not true. Money problems usually begin in the mind. Every financial decision you make starts with a thought. Every habit begins with a belief. Every financial result begins with a decision. And every decision is influenced by the way you think. This is why today's lesson is probably the most important lesson in this entire financial literacy course. Because if you change how you think about money, you can change how you make decisions. When you change your decisions, you change your habits. When you change your habits, you change your financial future. That is why financial transformation always begins in the mind. What is a money mindset? A money mindset is the collection of beliefs, attitudes, assumptions, emotions, and habits that shape how you think about money and how you behave with it. Notice something important. A money mindset is not just what you know, it is what you believe. Two people can learn exactly the same financial lessons. One applies them, the other ignores them. Why? Because knowledge enters the brain. Mindset controls behavior. Financial literacy teaches you what to do. Your mindset determines whether you actually do it. Think about this. Suppose two people both know they should save 20% of their income. Person A saves every month. Person B spends everything. Did they have different knowledge? No, they had different mindsets. Knowledge explains what is possible. Mindset determines what becomes reality. Your mind is like the operating system of a computer. Imagine buying the most expensive computer in the world. It has the fastest processor, the largest memory, the best graphics. Everything about the hardware is perfect. But the operating system is damaged. The computer freezes, programs crash, nothing works properly. Now imagine another computer. Its hardware is average, but its operating system works perfectly. It runs smoothly. It performs efficiently. Which computer would you rather own? Most people would choose the second one. Now replace the computer with your financial life. Your income is the hardware. Your money mindset is the operating system. Many people focus only on increasing income. But if the operating system is unhealthy, more income often creates bigger financial problems instead of solving them. A healthy financial life requires both income and the right mindset. Scenario 1. Two friends. Let's imagine two friends, Jorn and Joseph. They are the same age. They have the same education. They work in the same company. They earn exactly the same salary every month. At first, their financial lives look identical, but their thinking is completely different. Jorn believes every salary is an opportunity to build his future. Before spending, he asks himself, will this decision make my future better? Joseph believes money exists to be enjoyed immediately. Before buying something, he asks, can I afford it today? Notice the difference. Jorn asks about the future. Joseph asks about today. One question creates wealth. The other often creates financial stress. 5 years later, their lives are completely different. Jorn has savings. He has investments. He has an emergency fund. He sleeps peacefully because unexpected expenses no longer frighten him. Joseph has a newer phone, more fashionable clothes, more expensive shoes, but he also has no savings, no investments, no financial security. When an emergency happens, he borrows money. People look at them and say, Joseph is lucky. No, luck was not the reason. Their future was shaped by thousands of small decisions. Those decisions came from different mindsets. Money does not create character, many people say. If I become rich, I will become financially responsible. That is usually backwards. Money rarely changes your financial character. Money reveals it. Imagine pouring water into two different cups. One cup is clean, the other is dirty. The water is exactly the same, but the result is different because of the container. Money works the same way. If someone is disciplined with little money, they are more likely to remain disciplined with more money. If someone constantly wastes small amounts of money, Receiving a larger income often leads to wasting larger amounts. Money magnifies habits. It does not magically improve them. Your financial future is built one decision at a time. People often imagine wealth as one big event: winning the lottery, receiving a promotion, starting a successful business. But real wealth is usually much less dramatic. It is built through ordinary decisions repeated consistently: choosing to save instead of spending, choosing to invest instead of consuming, choosing to learn instead of ignoring, choosing patience instead of impulse. One decision seems small, but thousands of decisions create a financial life. Imagine building a house. One brick seems insignificant. You cannot live inside one brick. But if you lay one brick correctly every day, eventually you build a house. Financial success works exactly the same way. Every financial decision is another brick. Your future is the house. Why do people think differently about money? No one is born with a money mindset. It develops over many years. It is influenced by family, friends, culture, school, life experiences, success, failures, the media, social media. Sometimes people grow up hearing statements like, "Rich people are greedy. Money is evil. We will always be poor. People like us never become wealthy." When children hear these ideas repeatedly, they often accept them as truth. Years later, those beliefs continue influencing financial decisions without them realizing it. Financial literacy challenges those beliefs. It replaces assumptions with understanding. It replaces myths with facts. It replaces fear with knowledge. Scarcity mindset versus growth mindset. One of the most important concepts in financial literacy is the difference between scarcity thinking and growth thinking. A scarcity mindset believes opportunities are limited. It constantly says, "There is never enough. I will never succeed. If someone becomes rich, someone else must become poor." This mindset focuses on limitations. A growth mindset asks different questions. What skills can I learn? How can I increase my value? What opportunities am I missing? Instead of complaining about the economy every day, people with a growth mindset ask, "What can I do despite the economy?" Notice something important. A growth mindset does not ignore problems. It simply refuses to surrender to them. Financial literacy begins in the mind. Many people believe financial literacy starts with budgeting. Others think it starts with investing. Some believe it starts with earning more income, but all of these come later. Financial literacy begins with how you think. Because your mindset influences your choices. Your choices create your habits. Your habits shape your results. And your results become your financial future. If your thinking changes, your financial life can begin changing long before your income changes. That is why the first investment every person should make is not in stocks, not in real estate, not in a business. The first investment should be in developing a healthy financial mindset. Because the greatest financial asset you will ever own is not money. It is your ability to make wise financial decisions. And every wise financial decision begins with the way you think. Now, we understand that financial transformation begins in the mind. We will go one step deeper. We are going to answer one important question. What kind of mindset creates financial success, and what kind of mindset creates financial struggle? Many people think wealth is created by income. Others believe it is created by education. Some think it is created by luck. These things can influence your financial life, but they are not the foundation. The foundation is how you think. Your beliefs determine your decisions. Your decisions determine your habits. Your habits determine your financial future. Today we will compare two people, not because one is smarter, not because one is richer, but because they think differently. The financially healthy mindset. A financially healthy mindset is not about becoming rich overnight. It is about thinking in ways that consistently create better financial decisions. Let's explore its characteristics. Belief 1. Money is a tool, not the goal. Many people make money their final destination. They believe, if I become rich, my life will automatically become successful. But money itself has no purpose. Money cannot think. Money cannot create happiness. Money cannot create wisdom. Money is simply a tool. A hammer can build a house. The same hammer can destroy a window. The hammer is neutral. The person using it determines the outcome. Money works exactly the same way. Financially healthy people understand this. They use money to buy freedom, to create opportunities, to build businesses, to educate themselves, to help others. Money becomes their servant, not their master. People with unhealthy mindsets often become servants of money. Every decision revolves around spending, showing off, or chasing status. Instead of controlling money, money controls them. Belief 2. Spend what's left after saving. Most people think like this. Income. Spend. If anything remains, save. This sounds normal, but it creates a problem. There is usually nothing left. Financially healthy people reverse the process. Income, save, invest, spend what remains. This is not because they enjoy saving more. It is because they understand something important. Saving is paying your future self. Spending is paying everyone else. Imagine receiving your salary before you buy clothes, before eating at restaurants, before upgrading your phone. You first transfer part of your income into savings or investments. You are saying, my future deserves to be paid first. That is a powerful mindset. Belief 3. Delayed gratification. One of the most valuable financial skills is delaying gratification. Let's imagine two young professionals. Each receives a bonus of $1,000. The first person immediately buys luxury shoes. The second person invests the money in learning a valuable skill or starts a small investment. 10 years later, the shoes have disappeared. The skill continues generating income. The investment continues growing. This is delayed gratification, giving up a small pleasure today for a much greater reward tomorrow. Financially successful people constantly ask, what is the long-term cost of today's decision? People with unhealthy money mindsets usually ask, what feels good right now? Those two questions lead to completely different futures. Belief 4. Buy assets before luxuries. Imagine two neighbors. Each earns exactly the same salary. The first neighbor buys expensive furniture, luxury clothes, the newest phone, a bigger television. The second neighbor first builds an emergency fund, learns investing, buys productive assets, improves professional skills, starts a side business. After many years, both neighborhoods still see two successful-looking people, but appearances hide reality. One owns things that lose value. The other owns things that produce value. One buys symbols of wealth. The other builds wealth itself. Financial literacy teaches us to ask one simple question before buying anything. Will this purchase make me richer tomorrow or poorer tomorrow? That single question can completely change your financial life. Belief 5. Every dollar has a job. Financially healthy people rarely ask, where did my money go? Because before receiving income, they already know where every dollar should go. Some goes to savings, some to investments, some to bills, some to education, some to giving, some to personal enjoyment. Money without a plan usually disappears. Money with a purpose usually creates progress. Imagine hiring 100 workers. If you never assign them jobs, they wander around doing nothing. Money behaves similarly. Every dollar should have a responsibility. The unhealthy money mindset. Now let's look at beliefs that quietly destroy financial progress. I deserve it. This sentence sounds harmless. Sometimes it is true, but when used repeatedly to justify unnecessary spending, it becomes dangerous. I worked hard. I deserve this. I had a stressful week. I deserve another purchase. The problem is not rewarding yourself. The problem is rewarding yourself before securing your future. Financial discipline asks, have I protected tomorrow before rewarding today? Living for appearances. Some people buy things they do not need, with money they do not have, to impress people who are not thinking about them. This mindset is expensive. Imagine borrowing money just to buy designer clothes. Everyone admires the clothes. Nobody sees the debt. Real wealth is often quiet. Financial insecurity often tries to be loud. Never confuse appearance with financial success. Depending on one source of income forever, a financially unhealthy mindset says, "My salary is enough forever." A financially healthy mindset asks, "What happens if this income disappears?" This question encourages preparation, learning new skills, building investments, creating additional income, planning for uncertainty. Financial security comes from preparation, not hope. Blaming everything except yourself. Sometimes life is unfair. Economies become difficult. Jobs disappear. Inflation rises. These realities affect everyone. But financially healthy people ask, what part of this situation can I control? Can I improve my skills? Can I reduce unnecessary expenses? Can I increase my income? Can I learn something valuable? An unhealthy mindset focuses only on problems. A healthy mindset searches for solutions. The invisible difference: imagine two trees. One looks healthy. The other looks weak. The real difference is underground. The stronger tree developed deeper roots. Money works the same way. People admire visible success. The house, the business, the investments, the lifestyle, but they rarely notice the invisible roots. Discipline, patience, learning, responsibility, planning, consistency. Those invisible roots support visible financial success. Without them, financial success eventually collapses. Your financial identity eventually, every repeated decision becomes part of your identity. Instead of saying, "I am trying to save," you become someone who saves. Instead of saying, "I am trying to invest," you become an investor. Instead of saying, "I want financial discipline," you become financially disciplined. Identity is powerful. People naturally act according to who they believe they are. Therefore, don't simply build better financial habits. Build a better financial identity. Become the type of person who naturally makes wise financial decisions. Because once your identity changes, your actions begin to follow automatically. Conclusion: the greatest difference between financially successful people and financially struggling people is often invisible. It is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is not talent. It is not even income. It is the quality of their thinking. Every financial decision begins with a belief. Every habit begins with a belief. Every financial future begins with a belief. If you want to change your financial future, begin by examining your financial beliefs. Ask yourself, what do I believe about money? Where did those beliefs come from? Are they helping me? Or are they holding me back? Because the quality of your financial life will rarely rise above the quality of your financial thinking. At first, we discovered that every financial journey begins in the mind. Second, we compared the beliefs that create financial success with the beliefs that create financial struggle. Now we arrive at the most important question. Can a money mindset be changed? The answer is yes. In fact, it must be. Because if beliefs can be learned, they can also be replaced. Your financial future is not determined by the family you were born into. It is not determined by where you grew up. It is not determined by the mistakes you made 10 years ago. Those things influence you, but they do not have to define you. Your future is shaped by the beliefs you choose to keep and the beliefs you choose to replace. Financial literacy is not simply learning new information. It is replacing poor financial thinking with sound financial thinking. Your mind is like a financial GPS. Imagine you are driving to another city. You enter the wrong destination into your GPS. The GPS works perfectly. It gives accurate directions. It guides you exactly where you ask to go, but the destination is wrong. The problem is not the GPS. The problem is the destination. Your mind works in a similar way. Your beliefs become your internal directions. If you believe, "I will always be poor," your decisions begin to support that belief. If you believe, "I can improve my financial future by making wiser decisions," your actions begin to support that belief. Your mind is always trying to prove itself right. That is why changing beliefs changes behavior. Step 1. Question every financial belief. Most people never ask themselves, "Why do I believe this?" Instead, they simply accept every financial belief they have heard. Suppose someone says, investing is only for rich people. Ask yourself, who taught me that? Is it supported by facts? Or is it simply an opinion that has been repeated many times? Financial literacy teaches us to examine beliefs the same way a scientist examines evidence. Do not believe something because it is popular. Believe it because it is true. Step 2. Replace myths with principles. Many financial myths sound convincing. For example, if I earn more money, all my problems will disappear. Income can solve some problems, but without discipline, higher income often creates higher spending. Another myth says, I'll start saving when I earn more. But saving is not only an income habit, it is a behavioral habit. Someone who cannot save from a small income often struggles to save from a larger one because their habits remain unchanged. Replace myths with principles. A principle is true regardless of circumstances. One timeless principle is this: spend less than you earn. Another is, invest consistently over time. Principles remain reliable even when circumstances change. Step 3. Think like an owner, not only a consumer. One of the biggest mindset shifts in financial literacy is learning to think like an owner. Consumers ask, what can I buy? Owners ask, what can I build? Consumers spend most of their time choosing products. Owners spend most of their time creating value. Consumers focus on today's enjoyment. Owners focus on tomorrow's opportunities. This does not mean consumers are wrong. We all consume. We all buy food, clothes, and services. The difference is balance. Financially healthy people gradually move from consuming everything they earn to owning assets that produce future income. Step 4. Focus on value before money. Many people ask, how can I make more money? That is not a bad question, but an even better question is, how can I create more value? Money follows value. A teacher creates value by educating. A doctor creates value by improving health. A programmer creates value by solving problems. An entrepreneur creates value by meeting people's needs. The more valuable your skills become, the greater your opportunities to earn income. Instead of chasing money directly, develop the ability to solve important problems. Money often follows those who consistently create value. Step 5. Learn to think long-term. One of the greatest differences between wealthy thinking and poor thinking is the time horizon. Imagine planting a mango tree. Would you expect fruit tomorrow? Of course not. You understand that growth requires time. Yet many people expect wealth to appear immediately. Real wealth is similar to planting trees. Saving requires time. Investing requires time. Businesses require time. Skills require time. Patience is not simply waiting. Patience is continuing to make wise decisions while waiting. Long-term thinking allows small actions to become extraordinary results. Step 6. Accept responsibility. This may be the hardest lesson in financial literacy. Not everything that happens to us is our fault, but our response is our responsibility. Perhaps you grew up without financial education. That was not your choice. Perhaps no one taught you about budgeting, saving, or investing. That was not your fault. But today you are learning. From this moment forward, your financial education becomes your responsibility. Responsibility is empowering because it reminds us that our future is not controlled entirely by circumstances. It is influenced by our choices. Step 7. Build financial habits. A mindset without action changes nothing. Knowledge without action creates no results. Suppose you read 100 books about fitness but never exercise. Would your health improve? No, financial literacy works the same way. Reading about money is important. Applying what you learn is essential. Build habits such as tracking your expenses, saving consistently, avoiding unnecessary debt, investing regularly, learning continuously. Small habits repeated for years become extraordinary financial outcomes. The bamboo tree lesson. There is a famous story about the Chinese bamboo tree. After planting the seed, the farmer waters and cares for it every day. For the first year, nothing appears. The second year, still nothing. The third year, nothing. The fourth year, nothing. Someone watching might think the farmer is wasting time. Then, during the fifth year, the bamboo suddenly grows rapidly. Did it really grow only during the fifth year? No. For years it was developing roots beneath the ground. Financial success often works in the same way. For months or even years, your progress may seem invisible. You save consistently. You learn new skills. You invest patiently. You improve your habits. Others may not notice. But beneath the surface, you are building strong financial roots. When opportunities finally arrive, your preparation allows you to grow quickly. People will call it overnight success. You will know it was years of consistent preparation. The greatest investment, many people ask, what is the best investment? Some say stocks. Others say real estate. Others say businesses. All of these can be valuable. But before investing in any of them, make the greatest investment first. Invest in yourself. Improve your knowledge. Improve your skills. Improve your character. Improve your discipline. A person with the right financial mindset can lose money and rebuild. A person with the wrong mindset may receive wealth and eventually lose it. Money comes and goes. Character remains. Your mindset is the foundation upon which every financial decision is built. Final message as we conclude this lesson. Remember one powerful truth. Your financial future is not created in a single day. It is created by the decisions you repeat every day. Every time you choose learning over ignorance, discipline over impulse, patience over instant gratification, value over appearance, you are building a stronger financial future. Financial literacy is much more than learning about money. It is learning how to think. Because once your thinking changes, your decisions begin to change. When your decisions change, your habits improve. When your habits improve, your financial life begins to improve. And that is why every lasting financial transformation begins with a transformed mindset. How your thinking shapes your financial future. Two people can earn the exact same salary, live in the same city, start their careers on the same day. And 20 years later, one is debt-free with a paid-off house and a growing investment portfolio, while the other is still living paycheck to paycheck. Same income, same opportunities roughly, completely different outcomes. What separates them isn't luck. It isn't intelligence. In most cases, it isn't even discipline in the way we usually think about it. It's something quieter, something that operates in the background of every financial decision they make. From the moment they get their paycheck to the moment they decide whether to invest, save, or spend. It's their money mindset. A money mindset is the collection of beliefs, assumptions, and emotional associations you carry about money. What it means, what it can do, who deserves it, how it's acquired, and what it says about you as a person. Here's the important part. Most of these beliefs were never consciously chosen. They were absorbed. You picked them up from watching your parents argue about bills or not argue about them. From a comment a teacher made about people like us. From a culture, a religion, a community, a specific financial trauma, a layoff, a bankruptcy, a windfall that disappeared. By the time you're an adult making real financial decisions, you're operating on a set of rules you never actually sat down and wrote. Psychologists and financial researchers often describe this in terms of two broad orientations: scarcity and abundance. A scarcity mindset operates from the belief that there is not enough money, not enough opportunity, not enough time to catch up. It treats money as a zero-sum resource. If someone else is winning, you're losing. It responds to financial stress by tightening, hoarding, or avoiding the topic altogether. It often shows up as chronic underspending out of fear, or the opposite, impulsive spending because, why bother saving? It'll never be enough anyway. An abundance mindset, on the other hand, operates from the belief that opportunity and value can be created, that money is a tool and not a verdict on your worth, and that resources, while finite in any given moment, are not fixed over time. This doesn't mean naive optimism or reckless spending. Genuinely wealthy people with abundance mindsets are often extremely disciplined. Abundance isn't about believing money falls from the sky. It's about believing you have agency to generate more of it. Here's what's critical to understand. Your mindset doesn't just affect how you feel about money. It directly shapes your behavior, and behavior is what determines outcomes. Someone with a scarcity mindset will often avoid looking at their bank balance because it produces anxiety. That avoidance means missed opportunities to course correct, missed chances to negotiate a bill down, missed windows to invest before a market moves. Someone with an abundance mindset checks their numbers regularly, not because they're not afraid, but because they've built the belief that information is power, not a threat. This is the core thesis of this entire script. Your mindset isn't a soft, secondary factor sitting behind the real financial strategy. It is the operating system that determines whether any financial strategy gets executed at all. You can hand two people the exact same investment plan. One will follow it for 30 years. The other will panic sell during the first market dip because their mindset was never built to tolerate the discomfort of uncertainty. The strategy was identical. The outcome wasn't. If mindset is so powerful, the natural next question is, where does it come from and can it actually be changed? Let's take these one at a time, starting with origin. Family of origin. This is the biggest one. Researchers who study what's sometimes called money scripts, the unconscious beliefs about money we inherit, have found that most of our core financial beliefs are formed before age 7, largely through observation rather than direct instruction. You didn't need your parents to sit you down and say, money is dangerous. You just needed to watch them flinch every time an envelope arrived from the bank. Common family of origin patterns include growing up in a household where money was never discussed, which often produces adults who feel shame or awkwardness even thinking about their own finances. Growing up with a parent who used money as a form of control or love, which often produces adults who tie their self-worth to their net worth, or who struggle to set financial boundaries with family. Growing up during a specific financial hardship, a job loss, a foreclosure, a bankruptcy, which often produces either hypervigilant savers or, counterintuitively, avoidant spenders who cope with financial anxiety by not looking at the problem. Culture and community. Beyond the family unit, broader cultural narratives shape mindset too. Some cultures emphasize collective financial responsibility, supporting extended family, which can create real tension with individual wealth-building goals. Some communities carry deep, historically justified distrust of financial institutions. Some subcultures treat overt ambition around money as distasteful, while others treat it as the primary measure of success. None of these are simply right or wrong, but they are powerful and largely invisible until you go looking for them. Direct experience. Your own financial wins and losses recalibrate your beliefs too. A bad investment early in adulthood can create a lifelong aversion to any risk, even risk that's statistically reasonable, like long-term index investing. A big financial win, like an early stock pick that paid off, can create overconfidence that leads to bigger losses down the line. Media and social comparison. In the last 15 years, this has become an enormous factor. Constant exposure to curated images of other people's spending, vacations, cars, houses, has been shown to distort people's baseline sense of what's normal, pushing lifestyle spending upward regardless of actual income. This is sometimes called lifestyle creep by comparison, and it's one of the most financially destructive mindset patterns in the modern era because it operates almost entirely below conscious awareness. Now, the good news. All of this is learned, which means all of this is, at least partially, unlearnable and replaceable. This isn't quick mindset shifts. Unlike a budgeting spreadsheet, take sustained repetition to actually change because they're wired in as automatic emotional responses, not logical conclusions. But the plasticity is real. People do change their relationship with money at every age, and we'll talk about exactly how later in this script. Let's get specific. Here are the limiting beliefs that show up most often. See if any of these sound familiar. I'm just not a money person. This belief is popular because it's comfortable. It removes responsibility. If you're just not a numbers person, you don't have to do the uncomfortable work of learning. But financial literacy is a learned skill, not an innate trait. Nobody is born understanding compound interest. The belief itself is often the single biggest obstacle to ever becoming competent with money, because it discourages the very practice that would disprove it. More money would just create more problems. This one often comes from watching wealthy people in the media go through public, dramatic falling outs, family disputes over inheritance, lottery winners who go broke. These stories are memorable specifically because they're statistically unusual. But our brains weight vivid stories much more heavily than boring statistical reality. In practice, most financial research on well-being shows that money reduces a very specific and significant category of stress. The stress of not being able to meet basic needs or handle emergencies, even if it doesn't guarantee happiness beyond a certain point. Wanting more money is greedy, often rooted in religious or cultural teaching, sometimes rooted in watching a specific person's greed cause real harm. But there's a meaningful difference between the desire for financial security and freedom, and the specific behavior of greed, hoarding at others' expense. Conflating the two keeps people from pursuing basic financial stability out of a misplaced sense of virtue. I need to earn a certain amount before I can start managing money seriously. This gets things backwards. Financial habits, tracking spending, distinguishing needs from wants, understanding the basics of saving and investing, are what create the capacity to handle more money well later. Waiting for a bigger income before building the habit usually means the bigger income, when it arrives, gets absorbed by the same undisciplined patterns, just at a larger scale. Rich people got there by luck or by taking advantage of others. This belief has some real historical basis. Inherited wealth and exploitative practices are real, but treating it as the universal explanation for all wealth creates a subtle problem. If you believe wealth is fundamentally illegitimate or externally determined, you have no reason to build the skills that would let you create it yourself. It becomes a self-fulfilling story. I don't deserve to have more than my family or friends. This is sometimes called a loyalty binder in financial psychology, an unconscious belief that surpassing the financial situation of people you love is a betrayal of them. It often shows up as self-sabotage right at the point of financial breakthrough, a new raise followed by an unusual, sudden expense, a growing savings account followed by an uncharacteristic impulse purchase. Budgets are restrictive and depressing. This reframes a tool of freedom as a punishment. In reality, a budget done well isn't a restriction, it's a plan for intentional spending, which is the opposite of restriction. The discomfort isn't really about the budget. It's about facing numbers that have been avoided. Notice what almost all of these beliefs have in common. They're not really about money. They're about identity, worthiness, safety, and belonging. That's exactly why financial advice alone, spreadsheets, tips, budgeting apps, often fails to change behavior. You can't logic your way out of a belief that isn't rooted in logic in the first place. So let's flip the lens. What do people who have actually built and sustained real wealth, not just high income, but wealth that survives setbacks and gets passed on, tend to believe differently? This isn't about any one guru or book. It's a pattern that shows up again and again across research on high-net-worth individuals, self-made entrepreneurs, and long-term investors. 1. They see money as a tool, not a scoreboard. Wealthy individuals who build sustainable wealth, as opposed to those who spend it as fast as it comes in, tend to talk about money less as a measure of personal value and more as a resource to be deployed toward specific outcomes. Freedom, security, options, impact. This distinction matters enormously in decision-making. If money is your scoreboard, every financial decision becomes emotionally loaded, tied to ego and comparison. If money is a tool, decisions become more strategic. You ask, does this purchase or investment move me toward my goals? Not does this make me look successful? 2. They separate assets from liabilities, mentally, before financially. A recurring theme across financial education aimed at building wealth is the basic but often missed distinction between things that put money in your pocket over time and things that take money out. A lot of people's biggest purchases, cars, houses bought for status rather than function, non-essential upgrades, are liabilities dressed up as investments. Wealthy people tend to be ruthless about this distinction, not because they don't enjoy nice things, but because they buy those things with money already generated by assets, rather than in place of building assets. 3. They think in terms of ownership, not just income. There's a well-known distinction in financial education between working for money and having money or systems or ownership stakes work for you. High earners without wealth are often trading time for money indefinitely. People who build lasting wealth tend to prioritize acquiring things that generate income independent of their labor. Business equity, real estate, dividend-paying investments, intellectual property. This is a mindset shift as much as a strategic one. It requires believing that your effort should eventually be replaceable by capital, rather than being the permanent engine of your finances. 4. They treat patience as a competitive advantage. One of the most consistent findings in behavioral finance is that a huge portion of underperformance in personal investing comes from impatience, panic selling during downturns, chasing trends, checking portfolios too often, and reacting emotionally to short-term noise. Wealthy long-term investors tend to describe patience almost as a skill they've deliberately trained, not a personality trait they were born with. They've internalized the idea that wealth building is a decades-long process, and that boring, unglamorous consistency beats sporadic, high-drama financial moves almost every time. 5. They treat financial education as ongoing, not a one-time event. People who sustain wealth over generations tend to keep learning about taxes, about markets, about business, about their own psychology around money, well past the point where they need to. This is partly practical, but it's also mindset. They see financial competence as a skill to be sharpened indefinitely, the same way an athlete keeps training even after winning championships. 6. They separate self-worth from net worth, but still take money seriously. This might sound contradictory to the previous points, but it isn't. The people who handle wealth well tend to have done real internal work to decouple their sense of personal value from their bank balance. This isn't the same as not caring about money. It's what allows them to make clear-headed decisions under financial pressure. If a market downturn or a business setback doesn't threaten your sense of identity, you're able to respond to it strategically instead of emotionally. 7. They think about money in terms of decades, not months. Short-term thinking, how do I get through this month, this year, is often forced on people by real financial constraint, and it's not a moral failing. But wealthy individuals who plan multi-generational wealth tend to build the habit of thinking on much longer timelines. What does this decision look like in 10 years, in 20, for my children? This longer time horizon changes what looks worth it. A slightly higher savings rate that feels like a minor sacrifice today looks completely different when you can see, concretely, what it compounds into over 30 years. 8. They ask for help and build networks of expertise. There's a persistent myth that wealthy people are wealthy because they figured everything out alone. In reality, the pattern is almost the opposite. People who build serious wealth tend to actively seek out mentors, financial advisors, accountants, and peer networks of other financially literate people. Part of the mindset shift is simply believing that asking for financial help is a sign of competence, not incompetence. The reverse of how many people, especially those raised in scarcity, tend to feel about it. If you zoom out on all 8 of these, a pattern emerges. None of them are really tips. They're identity level shifts in how a person relates to time, to risk, to self-worth, and to their own agency. That's the actual difference between mindset and strategy. Strategy is what you do. Mindset is the lens that determines whether you'll actually do it and keep doing it when it gets hard. So now the practical part, because awareness alone doesn't change behavior. Here's a framework for actually doing the work. Step 1. Get your beliefs out of your head and onto paper. Most limiting money beliefs operate unconsciously precisely because they've never been examined directly. Take 15 minutes and finish these sentences without editing yourself. Money is. Rich people are. I'll never be able to. In my family, money was always. What comes out, often surprisingly fast and specific, is usually a direct window into inherited beliefs you didn't consciously choose. Step 2. Trace each belief to its source. For each belief you wrote down, ask where it came from. Was it something you were told directly? Something you observed? A single painful experience that got generalized into a universal rule? This step matters because a belief that feels like objective truth becomes much easier to question. Once you can see it's actually just one specific data point from one specific chapter of your life, not an unchangeable law. Step 3. Test the belief against reality. Ask honestly, is this belief actually true, or was it just true for one person in one set of circumstances at one point in time? My dad went bankrupt investing in stocks, so investing is dangerous, is a very different statement from investing always leads to ruin. But they often get stored in the brain as the same conclusion. Separating the specific story from the general rule is often enough to loosen a belief's grip. Step 4. Replace, don't just delete. Simply trying to stop believing something rarely works. The brain needs a replacement. If the old belief was, I'm not a numbers person, a more accurate and useful replacement might be, I haven't practiced financial skills yet, and that's learnable. The goal isn't forced positivity or denial, it's precision. Replace vague, identity-based beliefs with specific, action-based ones. Step 5. Change the behavior before the feeling fully catches up. Here's something important. You often don't need to feel completely confident before acting differently. Behavior change frequently precedes belief change, not the other way around. Opening a retirement account before you feel ready, or looking at your full bank balance every week even though it's uncomfortable, starts to generate new evidence. And new evidence is what actually rewires belief over time, more than any amount of thinking about it. Step 6. Build small, repeatable proof points. Confidence with money, like any skill, is built through small wins compounding over time. Successfully sticking to a modest savings goal for 3 months does more for your money mindset than reading 10 books about wealth, because it's direct, personal evidence that contradicts the old story. Look for small, achievable financial actions specifically because they're winnable. The goal early on is building evidence, not making dramatic progress. Step 7. Curate your financial environment. Mindset isn't purely internal, it's shaped continuously by your surroundings. If most of your conversations about money are anxious or dismissive, that reinforces scarcity thinking, regardless of your internal work. Seek out, even if just through books, podcasts, or a single knowledgeable person in your life, perspectives that model calm, capable relationships with money. Environment is quietly one of the most powerful mindset tools there is, because it works on you constantly, without requiring willpower. Step 8. Expect regression and don't treat it as failure. Old beliefs, especially ones formed in childhood, don't disappear cleanly. Stress, especially financial stress, tends to trigger a reversion to old patterns even after real progress has been made. This isn't evidence that the work didn't take. It's a normal part of how deeply wired beliefs get updated. The goal isn't zero regression. It's a shorter recovery time each time it happens. It's worth being clear about something before we close. Mindset work is not a replacement for financial literacy or a real plan. Believing abundant thoughts without ever opening a retirement account, tracking spending, or learning basic investing principles won't build wealth on its own. Mindset is the engine, but strategy is the vehicle. You need both. What mindset work actually does is remove the invisible resistance that keeps good strategies from ever getting followed through. It's the reason two people can read the exact same personal finance book, get the exact same advice, and end up in completely different places a decade later. The information was identical. The internal operating system running underneath it wasn't. If there's one idea to take away from all of this, it's this. Your current financial situation is not a fixed reflection of your worth, your intelligence, or your ceiling. In large part, it's a reflection of beliefs you inherited, mostly before you were old enough to evaluate them critically. Those beliefs were installed without your permission, but they can be examined, tested, and rebuilt with your permission, starting now. That process is slow. It's rarely dramatic. It looks like small, repeated, unglamorous decisions, checking the balance instead of avoiding it, saving a little even when it feels pointless, asking a question instead of assuming you already know the answer. But those small decisions, compounded over years, are the actual mechanism by which a mindset, and eventually, a financial future gets rebuilt. So here's the real question to sit with after this. Not how much money do I have, but what do I actually believe about money and where did that belief come from? Start there. Everything else, the budget, the investing, the saving, gets dramatically easier once the beliefs underneath it are finally working for you instead of against you. Thanks for watching. If this was useful, think about sharing it with someone who's ready to look at their own money story a little more honestly, and I'll see you in the next one.